Welcome back, everyone. We are on to our last and final session now for the Connected Packaging Summit. I'm joined by some fantastic guests. We're going to be looking at overcoming hurdles, barriers to adopting connected packaging solutions. And I am joined with some fantastic panelists. I think I was going to introduce you each alphabetically, but I've lost my script, so I haven't got the alphabetical, so I've got to now just go to my own mind. And I'll go to you, Mohamed Bassyouny. First, I'd like to welcome you to our wonderful virtual stage. You are joining us from packaging manufacturer SIG. Could you maybe just give us a quick, interesting fact about yourself?
Thank you for letting me join this lovely discussion, I would say. As usual, Jenny, you are inviting me to a very, very insightful and fruitful discussions. So thank you again for letting me introduce myself in the beginning. The business development manager, I'm working at SIG Group for the region of MEA and India, Middle East, Africa, and in India. Now more than 5 years in this role. I'm managing the product portfolio with that focus of the sustainable innovations, the digital solutions, and other any solutions related to packaging or machinery as well. So one from our area of interest, how we can help our manufacturers to effectively reach out to their end consumers, and also to control and ensure a full control with a high accuracy for their packs and for their products, with increasing their loyalty for their end consumers as well.
Perfect. Thank you and welcome very much. I move to Zakithi. Really nice to have you here with us. You're marketing manager for Nestle, previously for PepsiCo, joining us from South Africa. So we've got a massively fantastic geographical spread on our panelists today. Have you got an interesting fact about yourself that you can share with us?
Thank you so much, Jenny. Fantastic to be here and great to join the other panelists dialing in from all over the world. I think the most interesting thing about me is really my passion for brands. I have a real heart for making it mean something, not just professionally, but personally as well. So that's definitely something that I think of as interesting about me. Yeah, excited to be here and looking forward to a great discussion.
Amazing. Lovely. And that takes me then back to the UK, Stuart. So you're a sales director at Delga Labels. So give us an interesting fact from your side.
Yeah, hi, Jenny. Likewise, great to be meeting you all, and thanks for the opportunity. Interesting fact for me, just until then, I just met Zakithi, which was great. I am South African born and bred as well, so there was a little click there, a little link there, which is awesome. But yeah, much quicker for me. I've got a passion for, I've been involved in print and packaging for best part of 28 years now. And just like coming up with solutions and finding possible solutions for brands and customers alike. So yeah, all good. Can't wait.
Brilliant. Brilliant. All right, well, I'll stay with you, Stuart. So, you know, there's fantastic opportunities, I think, for brands, and we've been discussing it all day, to get involved with connected packaging. And we've talked about authentication, we've talked about gamification, we've talked about lots of different ways in which we can include consumers using connected packaging. But what would you say is a key benefit that connected packaging can deliver for brands and consumers?
Honestly, I think your imagination is the limit. It genuinely is. And I mean, that sounds kind of cliche, but it really, really is. If you get a good front-end software app, or the first and foremost is understanding what you want to achieve out of it as a brand, as a business. What's the deliverable? What's your ultimate goal?
Yeah.
Then simplify and break that down. But genuinely, it's I mean, for us, from a printing packaging perspective, it's quite a simplistic process. It genuinely is, and I'll come on to that in a little bit. But it's I think a lot of people get put off, certainly in initial conversations, just by thinking it's so complex, and it really, really isn't. The front end software side can be, but with good partnerships and good developments and good networks that are out there, this is so achievable. So yeah, embrace it.
Yes.
But generally, the sky's the limit, because I think we're only just scratching the surface in some instances. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, definitely. Mohamed, over to you. I mean, you're obviously leading packaging provider, one of the largest, of course. So there has been a lot of experience in terms of helping consumers talk about this transition to connected packaging. What do you think is the biggest advantage that brands can find from connected packaging?
Okay, as you know that today's we all are living into a highly on-demand world for digital and digital-related solutions. Okay, so consumers are more informed, need to be much more informed, need to be much more empowered than ever before. Therefore, they want to know more about the products in their hands. Okay, how they want this product and where, from which manufacturer, from which brand. Okay, therefore, also businesses needs the packaging solutions. Okay, which will help them to have much more easily valuable product data in real time. Okay, which will assist into supply chain quality and control. Okay, this is one. This is for the manufacturers and their relation with their end consumers. Okay, and also we are in SIG. We are striving to help the brands and the manufacturers in the FMCG sector, just to bridge this gap of digital communication between the manufacturers and their end consumers. Therefore, by providing this connected pack solution, different solutions under this segment of the connected pack, okay, this will give the manufacturers a complete transparency for their whole value chain at all times. Okay, and using the Internet of Things, this will generate a smart packaging innovations, which will open up a new possibilities for both tracking and interaction. So tracking, this is highly required for the manufacturers inside the FMCG, okay, with their end consumers through their products. This is the whole value chain. So we are talking about a complete cycle between the manufacturer, product, and the end consumer. That's it?
Absolutely. Sorry, Zakithi, what do you think in terms of the main opportunity here for brands when talking about connected packaging?
Oh, Jenny, I mean, we're in a real paradigm shift as far as the user experience. So consumers have far greater desire than ever before to access detailed information and more personalized experiences when they interact with brands. So connected packaging is really about future-proofing brands, and I think that's where the real opportunity lies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love what you say there, a paradigm shift. It is. I think a colleague of yours back from the States actually said to me a couple of weeks ago that actually consumers are going to start expecting to see this element, this QR code, whatever it might be, to have this interaction, to be able to have this interaction with the brand. All right. So that now comes us back to the reason that we're here to talk about, which is hurdles. Are there particular substrates? Are there particular packaging, printing methods that tend to create more challenges, Stuart, when we talk about actually getting the QR codes onto the packaging? Is there something there that's also holding brands back?
Not so much nowadays, Jenny, if I'm totally honest with you. Technology has moved on leaps and bounds, certainly from our service offering. So we've got a suite of kit that lends itself perfectly to it, from a digital offering, ramping up to further substantiate with a litho offering as well. But the digital allows us to do variable coding, it allows us to do variable QR coding. We can be very, very clever where we can do hidden QR codes and the like. But even on a litho perspective, it doesn't necessarily have any hindrance either, because you can just scale that up to a larger volume. Not so much on the variable, obviously, but just on a static pointer or a static QR code. Absolutely. But no substrate, anything that you can print on. I mean, we don't print on plastics here. We specialize on solid board, folding box boards and the like. But yeah, on the coated side, uncoated side, various arrays of, like I say, of substrates, it's not a hindrance at all. So again, it's speaking to the right people and just being given the right information, and don't letting that be an obstacle and don't let that be a hurdle. But yeah, printing techniques, technology is all there to support. So yeah, from my perspective, get on board.
There are no problems. Perfect,
No.
Stuart. That's
Very
great.
little.
Great. But I think what you're saying is that actually in the past there was. So there might be this kind of old thinking that there is still quite a lot of problems about being able to print these types of things. Would you say
Yeah,
that?
I think a lot of it's to do as well as is kind of perception and lack of understanding. I think even just artwork creation can be a bit of a mindset sometimes, just in terms of a negative. People think it's a potential minefield on it. It's not. It's actually quite simplistic. When you break it down, in terms of artwork supply, even if it's variable data, variable imagery and the likes, or a variable code that we do from time to time. If you take Amazon transparency, for example, every single one of those codes have to be unique for traceability and authenticity. We've got the software to be able to drive that and take that pain away from you. It's no different. You supply us one master file, and we've got areas within that we can pull and drop and drag and literally drop your artwork into. So there is no headache. But I can see the perception, if you're unbeknownst to that from a technical, that could be quite daunting. But no, it's not. It really isn't.
Yeah. No. Good.
We're there.
Mohamed, as the manufacturer, what are the problems? Are there packaging types that SIG have that you cannot put QR codes on?
Yes, actually, there are a lot of challenges, not only related to how to print the QR codes, but we are facing challenges related to how the end consumers will access the QR codes. This is the main issue, actually. Therefore, we are striving to create or to generate some innovations in collaboration with some manufacturers, either specialized in printing of the QR codes, or might be related to how to put stickers. Those stickers also will eliminate some challenges of this uniqueness for those QR codes. So the main challenge for the QR codes is not the nature of QR code itself, but is how end consumer will access the QR codes and what will be the next steps afterwards.
Yeah. So of course, Stuart can take care of our labeling problems.
Absolutely.
And obviously, Appetite and SIG are working to take care of the experience problem.
Yep.
So I guess that now means we need to move to the brand. So Zakithi, tell us a little bit about what you think from a brand's perspective we have in terms of challenges or hurdles.
Jenny, I mean, the first thing is obviously the cost of resources, time, and the complexity of the technology. It can be an overwhelming upfront ask for a brand as far as commitment on budgets. And some of this architecture that's required to successfully sustain a connected packaging ecosystem, it's really difficult at the jump to commit to. I think the brand solve is really in understanding what long-term thinking looks like as far as your marketing mix. And that will definitely mitigate any business aversion to cost, risk, or technology failure, making sure that you've got the right partners. And I think Stuart touched on it earlier when he spoke, and he said that, you know, it's a get on board kind of now. So I think brands, as much as there's an aversion, there's a fear around costs upfront, the architecture, how it's going to be built. The consumer now has a hardline expectation as far as how brands engage with them. They want brand real estate extended beyond just the store aisle experience. So I think as far as that risk, brands need to take a longer term view. There's obviously concerns around privacy and data. At various points where you're connecting data points from the consumer, be it frequency, preference, etc. Any compromise to personal information could, of course, have an unfavorable impact on the brand and the technology or connected packaging partner that you work with. I think upfront trust credentials with the right partner who is the right support architecture to protect you in instances where there could be data issues or concerns. Then for the consumer themselves, that trust is built through meaningful value exchange commitment. So if I give you my data, you get something of interest to you, be it a recipe in the case of a food brand, be it a training guide in the case of somebody who's interested in active sports. So the information sharing is circular. And I think that's how you really protect yourself against concerns related to privacy and data. And obviously, I think the big buzz is really around environmental issues and sustainability impact, where compliance and regulatory really comes into play. So from a brand lens, it's really about protecting the overall brand agenda in terms of all of these things, because there needs to be complete value chain transparency. And I think that from the get-go, if you do the right back-end work in negotiating the right partner, you're really protected on something as meaningful and impactful to long-term brand strat as your sustainability commitments.
Definitely. You touched so many different points there. I think one of the main things that came out there was around the data and the security of the data. Of course, if you use a reputable supplier, may I say ourselves, but there are others, then of course your data is going to be protected by GDPR. Everything is going to be set up in the right way. So that's really important, but quite an easy one to solve. Cost, as you mentioned, I think that also the opportunity for brands to jump in outweighs the dangers if you start with a pilot. You don't necessarily need to roll everything out across every single SKU that you have. That's probably way too overwhelming. And I think one of the things that's really interesting, and again, this kind of brings yourself in, Stuart, is to maybe think about, instead of changing the design of the pack to do a pilot to add QR codes, use labels to get QR codes onto a small amount, a small pilot. Stuart, you're nodding your head. You've got any examples of that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you can quite easily and quite affordably do that and utilize that for a special one-off, special promo, or just do a little bit of a segment, just do a segment slice on a particular product, just to actually see what's going on. But I get the whole budget and the whole cost, and Zakithi is absolutely right there by touching on that. But there's so different many journeys that you can come on this. I mean, connected packaging is in its most basic format. For us, it's a pointer. So it's a landing page that you can actually send somebody to your website and interact with. That's connected packaging. What we're talking about here, you can take that to an augmented reality. You can take that to a whole supply chain solution. There's so many. You don't have to go for the full encompass. It has to form part of your brand strat, quite rightly, as Zakithi said. But even just to connect with a simple connection with your customer, with the consumer, from a brand or from a brand owner, is key for me in this day and age, certainly. And I don't think that has to be extortionate to kind of jump on and get on board. But yeah, so your direct question was, can we do labels and do it on a smaller scale? 100%. That's one way to go at it. Yeah, that's the short answer. Sorry, you're going to say.
No, I was saying, Stuart, I think you're quite right. I think that as far as the brand mix, especially if you're a brand that's still venturing into connected packaging in a market that isn't mature, I think there are ways to engage the consumer that don't have to have an upfront cost to them. But the bottom line is always, for all brands, you either get on board or get left behind. I think it is now becoming the baseline consumer expectation. Nobody wants a one-way conversation or a sales pitch from brand. They want to feel part of connected community, and that really is extended beyond the connected packaging journey. So yeah, well aligned with you.
Absolutely. Keyword community. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's jump to some great examples. I want to hear if you guys have got any good examples of connected packaging that you've seen out there. Mohamed, have you got any good examples of connected packaging that you've seen?
Okay, actually, there are two main aspects we are trying always to improve. The first one is to help our manufacturers how to improve their brands and the reality of their end consumers to their brands. Using one from our solutions, we are trying to have a reality of the business needs to even at least to be sustained, and we are trying to help them to grow as well. Okay, otherwise those businesses will fall behind. The end consumers are sharing their experiences online. They are looking for new ways to have a conversation with their brands or with their manufacturers. Okay, so using a modern digital capabilities, the consumers have the expectation that individual products should act as interactive media sources. So using the QR codes and by scanning these QR codes using any mobile device, this will be diverted to a landing page. Thank you, Appetite Creative, for helping us to design those fancy and attractive landing pages, which has been received very, very lightly with to the end consumers, okay, and also to position our SIG packing gauge for digital marketing purpose in a good position inside this market of the connected pack. So with this collaboration between SIG and Petit Creative, we have successfully an integrated solution to help the end consumers for scanning the QR codes, and directly will be diverted for playing a game, running through a quiz, which is a trivia design, but make it much more attractive. This is the aim. This is will increase the loyalty and the engagement of the end consumer to their brands. This is one. The second one is how we can help the manufacturers or the brands to ensure a reliable supply chain management and safe products. Okay, we are trying, or I would rephrase it, we are striving all the time to ensure that the end consumer will get a good pack between their hands. Therefore, we are striving to help the manufacturers and the brands to ensure that their products, which will be received to the end consumers, will be safe 100%. Therefore, using the Internet of Things, we have a different modules starting from the from the source of the product itself up to the shelf at the retailer or market shops, whatever. Okay, so for this entire complete value chain, we have the full control for each single step, just to ensure that the product will arrive to the end consumer in a safe conditions.
Brilliant.
And this SIG is providing the SIG Pack Trust solution. This is for traceability and quality control purpose. So there are two main segments here. One for the digital marketing is SIG Packing Gauge, and the other one is for quality and supply chain purpose. This is SIG Pack Trust solution. By those two solutions, and even we can merge both of them, we can use the quality, supply chain, and the digital marketing all in one solution. This will help either the manufacturers to effectively ensure a quality, a high quality process of their products, and also will ensure a full engagement between the brands and the end consumer as well.
Perfect. Sounds fantastic, as I know it is. Thank you so much for that. Zakithi, have you got any examples that stick in mind?
Sure. Jenny, I'll mention special mention, I think, to Appetite Creative and the work done with Woodlands Dairy here locally in South Africa. Probably one of the first connected packaging journeys I've seen in this country. I'd like to deep dive, though, into a global cereal brand because the work they did, they really dialed into purpose. We know that important information on food packaging, like allergen details, can't often be printed in typeface that's difficult to read for blind or partially sighted people. So the new boxes this global cereal brand created allow a smartphone to easily detect unique on-pack codes and play back some of the labeling information for that shopper. So for me, it really lands so many aspects, beyond purpose. It lands a brand intrinsically understanding who their consumer is, what their immediate needs are and challenges. And I think it's a great example of how connected packaging can take you beyond a sale. It builds affinity, loyalty in really quite a sentimental way. I also, Jenny, in particular, love work done by a global cosmetics brand on something as simple as an eyeshadow palette. So they used an invisible conductive ink and they embedded this ink on a card inside the eyeshadow packaging. because the code was invisible to the consumer, it didn't interfere with any of the graphical copy on the card. Consumers simply had to type in a short URL, tap their phone to that URL, and it opened them up to a world of one-on-one makeup, education, tutorials, etc. from the world's best. You know, imagine yourself through the purchase of a simple eyeshadow palette, having access to one-on-one tutorials with your favorite TikTok makeup star. So for me, it's really shows a brand understanding the urgent consumer needs, but then building meaningful engagement at the end of the journey. And I think it dials back into what you were saying, Stuart, around cost-wise, you can throw to, you know, a generic landing page, but to build that continued community, you really need to land something much more meaningful for the consumer. And it could be, you know, in this instance, a one-on-one class, it could be gamifying the experience for the consumer, and various other touch points that keep the consumer engaged long after the sale has closed.
Yeah, or filter. I can see that kind of, as you mentioned that. I think Kellogg's is the brand that you're talking about in terms of cereal, and we actually had them on earlier talking about that case study. So that's amazing that you
incredible work.
Incredible work, and really, even having spoken to them and the technology, of course, Kellogg's or Kellanova are not the technology, it's NaviLens that's the technology. It really was built to do a good thing, not just to create some wow factor or something like that. And I think that also makes the difference between something that's successful. You know, creating something just to do for the sake of creating something is unlikely to work, but they really created something with the thought in mind of being able to help this group of people, which is a large group of people. So super interesting. Stuart, have you any examples, or have they all run out of yours?
No, I mean, I think you just touched on there that when you've got this story and you can connect, you want to see more of that, absolutely more of that going forward, because that's what this technology can perhaps do for us. For me personally, I suppose Milestone is taking a brand from that whole start journey right through to the end, and now we've got a nutraceutical brand that runs all of their products through the Amazon transparency range, and that's vitally important for them for traceability, authenticity, just because of the nature of what the product is, and the ingredients, just to make sure that there's no fraudulence or any copyrights going on and stuff like that. So consumers got 100% confidence in terms of what's going on there, and that whole journey is kind of mapped out, not as trickery and is gamified, if you like, to some intents, but still engaging with their consumer, but in trusting that the product is fabulous and it's traced from start to finish, which I think is a really important part of the journey as well, to be honest. A side note from me, it's quite an old one now, but you might be familiar with it. It's just we weren't involved in it, but it still fascinates me. Is a wine brand or a wine label called 19 Crimes. If you've ever checked it, I mean, it's quite synonymous, but again, huge budget, but it's fabulous the way that they've delved into that and been able to tap into that. I think it's a clever bit of marketing, really clever. Just scanning your phone onto the wine bottle, and then there's whole murder mystery kind of thing appearing. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's quite worthwhile.
Definitely kind of bringing things to life using augmented reality. So loads of different use cases here. One thing I'm going to correct you on, Stuart, is that no, I will not allow anyone to say connected packaging is linking to a website. No, it is not. It is about creating an experience, and I think that's what you're touching on. You know, we've got so many different examples here, and I think that's the main element. A brand needs to think about what it is that they want to create,
absolutely,
or what it is that they want to achieve. And there's been some really lovely examples here of that. What about in terms of being able to look at the future? Is there anything else that you're kind of anticipating is going to happen in the future? It's an open question. Mohamed, Stuart, or Zakithi, take the floor. Have you got any ideas of what might happen next in connected packaging?
From my side, for my 2 pennies worth, I think from our side, from a kind of technology, if you like, in terms of actually putting ink on paper and stuff, the technology's there, and I don't see that necessarily an awful lot having to change there, apart from people, brands pushing boundaries and stuff with the kit that's available to us. I think the front end side of it could change somewhat, and that excites me. The world of AI, the world of augmented reality, how that plays a part. yeah, it does excite me. It doesn't scare me. It does excite me, and as long as it's kind of controlled in the right manner. But I think that has a part to play personally, because I think there's a journey there. I don't know whether the others agree with me, but yeah, I can see that as being a huge development sooner rather than later as well, I think.
Yeah, I think, Stuart, AI is just a shorter path to insight, which is really the exciting thing with the developments currently happening in AI and connected packaging. Also, immersive technologies that we see expanding rapidly into packaging, where we're merging virtual and physical with sensory inputs like sound, video, graphics. Brands can just deliver better engagement and product information all around. Not new, certainly, but the pace at which they're evolving is really going to make the consumer journey and experience so much more involved, so much more engrossing, if that's the right word to use.
I agree, totally.
Yeah, I think AI as well. We have two sides to it. So there's obviously AI in terms of what could that front end, what could that customer experience be, but on the back end as well. So if we've got all of the data and we understand consumer behavior, could we then use AI to give us consumer predictions way beyond what we're aware of at the moment, you know? So how can we use AI with the data? I think that's really exciting as well. We're coming up to the end, so I don't want to cut anyone off, but I do want to ask you each in terms of a sentence or some advice in terms of any brands who are looking at this and they are facing, as we're looking at, hurdles, barriers to adoption. You know, how would you kind of round this up? Mohamed, I'll start with you.
Actually, the resistance to change. This is all the time the main issue or the main challenge, just to change the mindsets towards how to use the digital solutions much more effectively. Therefore, it's a journey of challenges. But what I can see and can realize since 2 years now, year after year, this behavior has been changed, especially in 2024. So let us drive this change together. I do realize that year after year, the confidence about or the maturity of connected pack should be available for all the brands, not only to be for the end consumers, but it needs to have much more modernized and creative solutions. Therefore, I do realize that Appetit Creative can do that for the end consumers and to be provided through these brands. Thank you.
Amazing, thank you. Stuart, over to you. One piece of advice. What do you want people to take away?
From me personally, I've touched on it already, but it's what I wrote down here, because it's I'm just making sure I don't want to change my mind, but I don't, is don't be afraid, embrace it.
Yeah.
Fully understand your intent, understand what you want to try and get out of it, because that's at least then you can measure it as kind of success, if you like, as a campaign, and try and map that journey. But yeah, get in touch with some experts, get in touch with some good personnel, and get a good team around you. But yeah, 100% embrace it, and don't be put off by it, don't be scared by it, because it's not as complex as you may think.
Amazing.
Get on board.
So our last piece of advice. What have you got for us?
Well, I mean, firstly, to brands, you build trust and you earn consumer reputation by doing hard things well. And I think it starts at making the decision that we're going to try something hard or seemingly hard. And then maybe to end it, let me borrow from the father of advertising, David Ogilvy. He said, don't bunt, aim out the ballpark. And I think that that's exactly what connected packaging and future-proofing brands is. It's aiming out the ballpark.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. So face, don't be resistant to change. Face the fear and do it anyway, I think is Stuart's piece. And then don't settle for okay, go for absolutely amazing. I think there's some really, really nice pieces of advice there for us to end on. It's been absolutely lovely having you three here joining us. Thank you so much, Stuart, Zakithi, Mohamed. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the Connected Packaging Summit 2024. It's been an amazing day. Thank you so much for everyone who stayed with us. We've had 19 speakers, 10 sessions, over 50 questions. So I really hope we inspired and brought something new to everyone. Of course, everything will be available on podcast on YouTube later on. And if you want to connect with any of our speakers, or if you've got any questions for me or Appetite Creative, do please reach out. Thank you so much and have a lovely evening, everybody.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jenny.
Cheers.
Well done to you.
Thank you.